Seizing of the heart. Damn it! Homer flinched as he heard Virgil curse. He was injured. Virgil was injured because someone took a shot at Roman, and Virgil not only caught the bullet for him, but took out the assassins while biting through the pain in his shoulder. After that, Virgil had grabbed Roman by the arm and rushed him away, leading him down several stairs and into a passageway Roman didn't know was there. This wasn't his castle, after all. He'd been a guest of their neighboring country for diplomatic purposes. Being a crown prince in this day and age was different than it used to be. Very few countries were still really led by their royal family. The title usually came with duties like this: maintaining a good relationship with other countries, go on humanitarian missions, representing the people among the leaders of the world. Roman was trying to take a more active role than his father had, and some people, clearly, did not like that. There were those who wanted to dismantle the monarchy entirely, and Roman taking interest in the well-being of his people and trying to be a voice for their interest in the government didn't fit their propaganda. His brother was more chaotic and liked to enjoy the perks of being a monarch in modern day more than Roman tended to do. He wasn't a bad person, but no one had expected him to even make a claim on the throne since they were 10. They were 20 now, and Remus had yet to show signs of growing up or be interested in ruling. Apparently, the more extremist anti-monarchists figured that if Roman didn't take the throne, Remus would have to, and do such a terrible job that the monarchy would fall on its own. All they had to do was take out Roman before he could be crowned, and become even more protected. His coronation was set to happen next year. His father had decided to step down and leave the throne for a younger generation and let his son actually lead his people, rather than wait until he had great grandkids that were old enough to take the throne. Again, leading being a big word. The only times where a woman would have to make any political decisions would be if the country encountered a big political crisis and was left without a functioning government for a period of time, which hopefully wouldn't happen. Anyway, whoever just shot at him didn't want that crown to ever be put on Roman's head. The attacker hadn't counted on Virgil, though. Virgil had been Roman's bodyguard for ages, though he only was officially hired as his main protective detail 2 years ago. Before that, he was a protege of Roman's previous bodyguard, Remy, a surprisingly fun-loving guy and Virgil's guardian. Virgil refused to talk about the details that led to that family situation. Virgil had traveled with Roman since they were young, especially when Roman went out undercover to get to know his people, and he had taken to protecting him from bullies who made fun of the way he talked and such. Roman had a love for fairy tales and was supremely disappointed to find that he wouldn't grow up to slay dragons or rescue handsome bachelors in distress, which led to him attempting to be a hero whenever he could, leading to Virgil getting in fights to keep him safe. Roman might have developed a crush on his knight. He wasn't a knight, but no amount of reminders from Virgil would get him to drop that, even though he knew Virgil only took protecting him seriously because he wanted Remy to be proud of him, which was fair. Still, Roman couldn't help the way his heart responded every time Virgil defended him. This was not like that at all, though. Virgil was bleeding. A bullet was still in his shoulder, and when Virgil dragged Roman away, there was screaming and another gunshot heard. There were others hunting for them. Virgil was leaning against the wall, catching his breath. Damn it, he said again. How did you know this was here? Roman asked, not ready to acknowledge what was going on. My job to know all the extra truths, Virgil said simply. This is gonna be a pain, he groaned. We can't stay here too long. We need to get to the surface. There's the safe house. You need a doctor, Roman objected. I'll figure it out, Your Highness. Remy is at the safe house. He'll take care of me until we can safely leave, Virgil insisted. But Virgil, Roman pleaded. No buts. As long as you are in danger, I'm the one in charge. You can't order me around right now, Virgil bid. Roman flinched. Ever since they were kids, when Woman wanted to hang out with Virgil outside of their shared lessons, and Virgil was being shy or hesitant, Woman would make it an order. It was a playful thing, and he never had made Virgil do anything bad. They went to play tag with his brother and the son of his dad's advisor in the gardens, or they built a blanket fort. As they grew older, would put on a disguise and go see a new movie in the theater and drag Virgil along, or go shopping. Or they'd just sit in his room and watch Disney, and Woman would do whatever it took to make him laugh. Virgil had a very nice laugh, even though he hated it. But did Virgil genuinely not like hanging out with him? Did he feel forced? I, you, I'm sorry, Virgil. I didn't know you minded, Woman said, hating that tears were welling up. Virgil was in so much pain right now. This wasn't a moment to get upset and make him pander to him. And Woman was not surprised to see Virgil's face fall. He acted tough and distant while on the job, but he was a kind and caring person. He just expressed that with tough love. Princey, Virgil sighed, sounding tired, and said, and in pain, but not just the physical kind. It occurred to Roman that Virgil never once shot someone before. God, he must be freaking out right now. I didn't mean it like that. We can talk about it later, but I'm not upset with you, okay? I'm just. Roman reached out and squeezed Virgil's good shoulder. V, are you okay? You. You had to shoot that woman. The whole situation was slowly registering. His would-be killer had worn a gorgeous gown in deep purple, long hair pinned up, a slender but definitely feminine body. He even remembered the way she reached for the wound in her abdomen. Her face shocked. She'd been so full of hate when she took a shot at him, her cheeks glistening. Had she been crying? It doesn't matter. She would have shot you again if I didn't give her bigger problems to deal with. She'll be fine. I I know where to hit to make it hurt without being a kill shot. Remy taught me. Gotta go to Remy. And with that, Virgil took Roman by the wrist and led him through the tunnel which came out in the shed. Every time Roman tried to talk, Virgil hushed him. He led him through a forest for what was way too long for Roman's liking. Virgil had torn off the sleeve of his jacket and tied it to his shoulder with his tie. But that wasn't going to stop the bleeding enough, right? He needed better care, and soon. He had to lean on him for support every 2 steps by now. How was he even still walking around at all? Just when Roman was starting to think Virgil would collapse before they got to the safe house, the forest gave way to a small bungalow. Roman could see the porch where someone was pacing. Remy! Remy spotted them and immediately came running. Jumped right over the banister. He's shot in the shoulder, Roman said as soon as Remy was within earshot. Damn snitch, Virgil grumbled. Let's get you both inside. Virgil, did you not treat this at all? Remy asked in a scolding tone. I didn't exactly have anything on hand. Prince is fine. That's most important, Virgil insisted, and Remy guided them both to the bungalow, up the stairs into a room with no windows. Of course he's fine. You were with him, Remy sighed. Virgil's mouth lifted a little in a smile as he took off his jacket and shirt. Remy got out some tools and Roman looked away. Very sure he was too squeezy to look at this field hospital situation. Seems you got lucky, Remy muttered. Virgil, I heard from agents at the scene. You shot her. Roman frowned. It sounded like this her was a person both were familiar with. She was targeting the prince. I did my job. She she will live, right? Virgil sounded genuinely worried. She's taken to the hospital with police escort. I got an extraction team on the way. We need to get a real doctor to see this thing out. I'm not comfortable messing around with it here, Remy concluded. Figured. Don't pack it up too much. Until we have full team on the scene, I'm the only backup you got. Virgil reminded his adoptive father slash supervising agent. Roman turned back to look and found Remy securing a bandage around Virgil's shoulder. Any other day, seeing Virgil shirtless would have made Roman a mess, but now it just made his stomach turn unpleasantly. He got lucky. What if that bullet had hit him a bit to the right? We'll be out here in 20 minutes, max. Nothing's gonna. A shot from outside interrupted Remy, who jumped up and took out his gun. You two stay here, he instructed tensely before rushing down. Like hell, Virgil grumbled, loading his gun, wincing with every move of his left arm. Then he reached for his scarf and took out another, handing it to Roman. Turns out it was a good thing you nagged me into teaching you how to shoot, Virgil huffed. Roman looked at the gun hesitantly. At the time, he'd just been looking for a reason to come with Virgil and he went training at the range. Guns terrified him. And Virgil was not a fan either, even less so after today. But right now, their lives depended on him. He took the weapon with shaking hands. Virgil, Roman flinched as he heard shouting downstairs and gunshots. Virgil shot up, opened the closets, and took out two vests. He shrugged one on before handing the other to Roman. Bulletproof, no doubt. Stay here, he said. Roman grabbed his hand. Virgil, wait. You have to come back. Please. His voice broke with emotion. God, he was really going to do this. But what if this was his last chance? I never told you this because I was scared you would resign and stuff. But I'm in love with you. I know my pain and you don't feel the same way, but please just come back, he pleaded, tears in his eyes. To his surprise, Virgil pulled him in for a hug. You are an idiot. You know that? He sighed. What do you mean? Roman asked, scared to hope. I mean, I have had feelings for you for a long time too. Sing a lot. In fact, would it be too forward for me to ask for a kiss for good luck? Virgil teased. Probably genuinely joking, expecting Roman to insist on the date first so he could ask him out for after they dealt with this. But Roman stepped out of the embrace, took Virgil's face in his hands, and kissed him. He kissed him and he wanted it to be enough to make him stay. But he knew that downstairs, the man who'd raised Virgil for the past 12 years was possibly pinned down by an unknown amount of enemies. He couldn't ask him to stay with him. Virgil moved away. Well, now I definitely need to come back, he said, tears in his eyes, but he didn't seem afraid. Virgil's thumb coasted over Roman's cheek. See you soon, he whispered and headed down. Roman started pacing. Remy and Virgil were excellent at what they did. They'd be fine, right? But what if they weren't? There was a lot of shouting now. No shots. Roman got nervous and curious. The stairs were out of view of the entrances, shielded by a wall on both sides and facing a wall. If he was quiet, he could make it down them without anyone knowing. Virgil and Remy would be upset. His parents would be livid. Remus would probably think it was wicked cool. And it's rarely a good idea to do something Remus would approve of, just for your health and decency's sake. Still, Roman found himself putting on the jacket and sneaking down the stairs, singing musical tunes in his head to calm his nerves. He had Hamilton on the mind, which was probably not the greatest idea when holding a gun. He heard the voices. Hand the hellspawn over. You know this is where your life has been leading you, Virgil. Redeem yourself, a woman's voice shouted. You are insane. I'll die before I let you anywhere near him, Virgil shouted back. Woman wished he could safely check the situation around the corner. The time is now. Reject their sinful ways. Return to the light you were born into, a deeper male voice. Woman knew that people out to kill him were likely to be insane. But hearing it first hand was something different. None of this made any sense. Go to hell, Virgil insisted. You heard the man, Remy growled. Woman heard movement. And maybe it was the adrenaline giving him massive deductive reasoning, or maybe it was just because he was still trying to suit himself with My Shot of all songs. But he stepped around the corner and aimed a gun at one of the apparently three people that had come in. The three opponents were distracted by Roman's sudden appearance, which was good because his shot ended up in the wall way to the left of the guy he'd been aiming at. But this distraction was all the time Remy and Virgil needed to take out the three of them before they could get a shot off. Virgil turned around and Roman relaxed when he saw he was fine. It was over. And then he fainted. He woke up to white walls, in an uncomfortable bed. Hey there, Princey. Roman turned his head and found Virgil with his arm rebandaged, also laid in a hospital bed. Are you all right? How long was I out? He wondered frantically. Virgil was still in his dress pants, his torso still bare, save for the bandaging. Yeah, I'm all right. You're in big trouble, though. Once the anesthetics wear off, I'll kick your ass, he grumbled. He was too fidgety, so they dosed him just enough to keep him still for an hour. He woke up 10 minutes ago. Bullet's gone. He's all stitched up, Remy offered. Roman let out a relieved sigh and sat up. He felt fine now. The stress had just gotten to him. I'm not sorry, he said as he got out of the bed and went to stand at Virgil's side. He looked okay, all things considered. The people who came at me. Did we get them all? He wondered. Virgil and Remy nodded. We found their community too. They are all being arrested and handled as needed, Remy informed them, glancing at Virgil cautiously. Virgil looked angry, sad, just a lot of things. Virgil? Roman asked gently. I. Virgil was interrupted by an agent. Director Dormus, Your Highness, Agent Dormus, he greeted formally. The shooter apprehended at the ball has woken up. As you predicted, she is very uncooperative, he informed them. That's Moya, Virgil sighed sadly. You know her? Roman asked. Virgil nodded. She's my sister. That. Wait. Virgil, you should. Are you okay? He asked, perplexed. That was so much more upsetting than he'd presumed today to be. Virgil let out an empty laugh. Yeah, that was a redundant question. I'll take care of things. You two should talk, Remy said as he got up and followed the other agents out. There was a moment of heavy silence. I guess if if we're going to do this, I should come clean, Virgil said, not looking at Roman. Before Remy adopted me, I was raised in a cult, the very one that attacked you today. So you can guess what a lovely rhetoric I was fed the first 8 years of my life. They believe those of noble blood are in league with the devil and conspire to kill Jesus. Okay, that explains some of what those people had been shouting about. As you know, I was born on Christmas Eve. So my parents and the whole community, they put some meaning to that. My sister Nora was the only one I really liked. She didn't treat anything I said or did as if it was either gospel or blasphemy. I felt safe with her. Woman could empathize with that part. Actually, to have everyone expect big things from you from birth. What I watched and entertained myself with was closely monitored. They only showed me Disney to teach me or else were pathetic and stupid. But that wasn't all I learned from it. I I liked kind princesses and stuff, Virgil admitted with a blush. Anyway, despite their attempts at brainwashing me into becoming the messiah of their belief system, and when I heard them plan something big, with her as a key player, his voice cracked and a tear escaped. I called the emergency line and they sent the police and I got out of there. The entire community vanished within an hour. Until today, I hadn't seen my sister or my parents since the night the police came. Oh no. Virgil had to shoot his parents and his sister today? That was so messed up. He deserved a vacation, not that he'd accept it. The woman would have to come up with something. Remy was part of the team questioning me to see if I knew anything else. He saw something worthwhile in me, adopted me, set me up with a therapist, who is now his partner, and they decided it was a good idea to let me get to know you and Remus so I could form my own opinion on you. And the rest is history. He finished, still not looking at Roman. Virgil, I can't imagine. I'm so sorry you went through all of that, he said sincerely. He wanted to say more, though he couldn't imagine the right words to say. They got interrupted by a knock on the door. Your Highness, I apologize, but I need the room to check up on my patient, a doctor said carefully. Woman nodded. Yes, of course, he said as he squeezed Virgil's hand and left the room. Two agents stood at the door. They would follow him wherever he went, no doubt. It took two regular agents to make up for the absence of one Virgil. I want to see the one who made the first shot, he said in a tone that didn't leave room for argument. He didn't know what he'd say, but he wanted this Nora to be ready to talk to Virgil without upsetting him. He'd give Virgil his big sister back in some capacity, though he had no clue what that meant. Yes, sir, the agents replied without hesitation. Virgil would have given him lip. The thought made Roman's heart race. He'd gotten so close to losing him today. Instead, they were a thing now, right? Roman wasn't officially out, though there were rumors. But at some point he'd have to confirm to the people that he'd never take a queen. They led him to a room not too far from Virgil's. They were shouting, mostly curse words, some that Roman had never heard before. He stopped to wait for a good moment to enter, or to listen in. Either way, the agents didn't move. They didn't question his actions. They just kept an eye out for possible unfriendlies. Are you quite done throwing a tantrum? He heard Remy ask. Remy, a different voice. Woman knew this to be Remy's other half. Emil. She's clearly under a lot of emotional stress. I was just telling her Don't you dare say his name, you monsters! You took him from me. You messed with his head, and now he. The woman's voice was indeed very distraught. Woman couldn't imagine what it was like to see the little brother you'd lost years ago appear on the side of the man you'd been taught was evil incarnate. Alive and well. Probably won't use that arm for a bit, but he'll live, Remy said calmly, not showing he'd been sharing her terror just a few hours ago. He's alive? Nora whispered in disbelief. I want to see him. I want proof of life, she insisted. Woman could hear Remy scoff. This is not a hostage situation, Missy. And even if it was, you are not in the position to make demands like that, he stated coldly. How dare you! You stole him from us, Nora cried. Did I? Remy said, unimpressed. And then Roman heard another voice, but this one low quality. A recording. 554, what's your emergency? A calm, feminine voice. Hello? Are are you the people who help when bad things happen? Nora gasped, and Roman suspected that it was because she, like him, recognized the voice of a younger Virgil. Yes, sweetheart, we'll do our best. What's your name? The operator wondered. Virgil Wonders, little Virgil replied. Okay, Virgil, how old are you? I don't know. Virgil's voice broke. I remember how scared he was in the beginning when he couldn't answer or thought he did something wrong, Remy recollected, with an icy voice. Roman remembered too. He seemed terrified of their tutor, though he was very patient, despite Roman and Remus not making it easy for him. The recording continued. That's all right. So safe right now? The woman asked. Yeah, but Mommy will be back soon. I don't think I'm supposed to call, Virgil whispered. It's all right, Virgil. I won't get you into trouble. Why are you calling? The woman wondered. The Benny on the TV said to call his number when he saw something bad. Mommy and Daddy?
It's Noya. They are going to make her do a bad thing.
Virgil said.
Can you tell me a little more, Virgil? They they have guns, and guns hurt people. And they are telling Noya to hurt someone tomorrow, he cried. Please, I don't want Noya to do a bad thing.
The younger version of his bodyguard sobbed.
We'll try and keep that from happening. Who is Noya, Virgil? My big sister. And is she a lot older than you?
The woman wondered.
Don't know. Mommy and Daddy says she's almost an adult, but she's much smaller than Mommy.
The woman's heart ached for the young boy trying to explain to a stranger what was going on. Out of concern for his sister, it seemed.
Okay, and what do Mommy and Daddy want her to do with the guns?
The woman asked. The woman could hear that it was getting hard for her to keep her composure.
They are gonna go to the big round circle on the map. It's got a big green square next to it,
Virgil said.
You are doing very good, Virgil. Did you hear anything about the people Noya has to hurt?
The operator asked tensely.
I can't remember their name, but they help the princess and the princesses. Mommy and Daddy and Mr. Father don't like that,
He said. That's enough, I think, Remy said. He he called us in? Noira said softly, more to herself than to anyone in the room. He was quite distraught you didn't run back to get him when he pretended to trip. He thought you would. Hope to free you both from your parents and father, Remy said, sounding like he was barely holding back anger. I wanted to. Wouldn't let me, the woman said quietly. He never gave up hope, you know. Kept hoping you'd come for him. Thought he could convince you to stay with us and you'd both be safe. He was definitely angry. No, no, I didn't. Fletcher. Oh, God, Nora sobbed. Nora? Remy is Virgil's boss, but he's also his legal guardian, and Emil meant well. But that was clearly the wrong thing to say. He did what? If he ever was going to step in, now was probably the best before she got even more worked up. Oh, dressed him, clothed him, took care of him when he got ill, that stuff, he said as he walked in, closely followed by his guard. Emile shot up and bowed. Remy went to stand at attention. Please don't, the woman said gently. His eyes strained on the woman who'd shot him earlier today and was looking like she'd happily do it again. She was slender. She looked on the edge of underfed, honestly, her dark straight hair in a pixie cut. Evidently the long hair from the party had been part of a disguise. She was in a hospital gown and couldn't sit up well due to her injuries. You, she growled. I know you hate me, he said calmly, but this isn't about me, or you. This is about Virgil. He told me some of what happened. As Mr. Dormus told you, he still cares for you. You are still his sister. And though you probably won't believe me, I do care for him too. He's a good man, and the most reliable friend I could ever have hoped for. Nora just glared at him, glancing at the cards with him. He let out a tired sigh. I'm sorry for the pain you've endured. I can't imagine going through that with my brother. He's a pain, but I love him dearly. From what I heard, you and Virgil were very close. I hope you can be that once more. But his well-being will take priority. If you use your visits to upset him, I can't in good conscience support it, he stated firmly. That sounds fair. The woman spun around, shocked to find Virgil standing there, bracing himself against the door. Virgil, you should be in bed, he objected. My shoulder is fine, Princey. Just a little off balance because of the meds, he objected, eyes focused on the room behind him. Which is exactly why you shouldn't move around. I swear, if you keep this up, I'll have to appoint someone to protect you from yourself, Roman huffed. Virgil just chuckled. Roman rolled his eyes and stepped aside so Virgil could properly enter the room, ready to catch him should he need it. Virgil's face became serious and he strode into the room. Between me and the boss, the prince will be fine. Give us the room, he said. It was always odd to see how well respected Virgil was among the ranks of the royal security team. He was much younger than most, but the team took orders from him as though he was the senior operative. All that, while most of the politicians seemed a bit put off by the fact that Roman would soon take the throne. Once the door closed, the woman looked at Nora. She was staring at her brother, eyes going from his bandaged shoulder to his face, silent tears streaming down her cheeks. "You're so grown up," she whispered. "Tends to happen when you don't see someone over a decade." "They cut your hair short," he noted. "It they," she said, touching her hair self-consciously. "You loved it long." "What else did they do to you?" Virgil wondered worriedly. "No, it's not that. It was penance for losing you." "I choose this," she insisted. Virgil scoffed. "Yeah, right. I'm sure father nor her parents ever suggested that you had to, in any way." Nora flinched. Virgil walked farther in the room and sat on the edge of the bed. "You need to eat better, Noya," he said softly. "Look at you. Don't worry. Emil is really good at teaching you to take care of yourself. He even got Remy to cut down on caffeine." Virgil smirked. "Cut down, but not quit, so it's a draw." Remy pointed out smugly. The trio chuckled. Nora just looked uncomfortable. "Virgil," she said, "we don't need to talk about all that now. We have 25 years of manipulative BS to work through. Please cooperate with the investigators. I'm testifying against the community." "So what you do will only decide whether you are considered a victim or a willing participant. I know how they treated us, what they did to the kids there, and I'll advocate for you. But the decision isn't mine. You fired a shot in a room filled with high officials past our borders. I'm not even sure if you'll be tried by us. I'll do my best, Noya." "But you are going to jail." Virgil's voice cracked with emotion. Roman wished he could hug him, but he didn't want to enrage Nora. We, we, they said we were cleansing the world," Nora insisted weakly. Virgil sighed. "I know," he nodded, taking her hand before looking at Roman. "But even if they were right, their methods were wrong. Deep down you have to know that too," he whispered. "I just wanted to have you back," she sobbed. This made the tears in Virgil's eyes spill over. Roman silently left the room. It was not his place to be here. He waited for Virgil's return in his room, and he was brought in not much later. "Everything all right?" he asked as he got up. Remy sent the guards outside, and Virgil waited until they were gone to respond. "I could use a hug," he admitted. Roman rushed to his side at once and embraced him carefully. "I can't imagine how hard today was for you," he whispered. "I'll be fine. You got shot at, though. You should let Emil make sure you are doing okay." Virgil pointed out. "If you promise to let yourself rest from now until the doctor says you are fully healed." Virgil groaned in protest. "No kisses every day you overexert yourself," Roman teased. Virgil let out whine. "No fair. Does that mean I don't get a kiss now?" He pouted. Roman pretended to think about it. "I suppose the rule was not in effect yet, so I'll allow it. But only because I love you," he teased. Virgil let out a laugh and moved back just enough to allow Roman to lean in for a kiss. "Never mind me," Remy said from his place at the door, making both men jump apart, look at each other and Remy, embarrassedly, before bursting out laughing. Today had been a nightmare, but also a dream, and Roman was hopeful that things would work out